Good morning. It's Saturday. I'm in the office. It's like 2 degrees outside, but it doesn't matter. The hustle goes on. Today, I'm talking about giving back and creating value for others the way you needed them when you were starting out. It's a part of anyone who is successful is how they give back, how they create value for other people, not just in what they do, but intentionally giving back by providing advice, by being a role model, and by mentoring other people. Something that I have started to do myself at this aspect of my career. It brings me great value, great satisfaction. It also forces you to make sure you know what you're talking about, that you can present it to people who are just starting out and let them learn from your mistakes, which you were going to make plenty of. So we're going to talk about that on the podcast today. I'm also going to reference the Golden Group Neo Marketing Podcast, where I spent an hour this week with an entrepreneurial class from USAO. Big shout out to my guy Rob for inviting me to talk to your class again this semester about what those young people need to be thinking about when they're going to get on a entrepreneurial career path like I did 35 years ago. So here we go. Good morning. It's Saturday. I'm in the office. You know what that means. The Saturday Morning Hustle podcast on a cold, wintry day here in Oklahoma City. You guys know what's happening in the weather in the world right now, all the things that are going on, but we can't stop. We got to keep hustling and grinding, and we have to keep gaining, growing, and giving back as entrepreneurs or people who are finding success. Although not at the ultimate level of success yet, you currently have more success than someone else. And that person who is less successful than you now, because they've started later, they're younger, they're not as far into their entrepreneurial or career path as you are, could benefit from what you know and what you've learned, because there is no singular way to be successful. There's so many multiple ways, so many lessons learned. Of course, more lessons are learned from failures or setbacks than there are successes, but successes are obviously are great too. So at this point, at anyone's career, anyone's entrepreneurial journey, if you're in day 2 or day 2000, year 1, year 35, year 60, it doesn't matter. You should be finding ways to create value for other people. And one of the ways to do that is in how you handle your business, by creating win-win scenarios, equitable situations, benefit everyone. A rising tide lifts all boats. This should already be your mindset. We should also be looking at ways to encourage, promote, and bring on the next generation of entrepreneurs, of business owners, of business decision makers, of leaders, civic, business, otherwise. That comes from providing examples, showing them how to do it. Of course, ethical, high standing, great examples of how to do things. Also sharing your mistakes, sharing your setbacks, sharing lessons you learn when things didn't go as well as you expected, because there's so many lessons to be learned there. And people need to understand they're going to hear more no's than yeses. You're going to fall down. You have to get back up, and that it happens to everyone, that they need to understand as well so they can keep their attitude right. And then going further into intentionally creating value for other people. And in that process, you will create value for yourself. You'll get to operate with other people. You'll get their mindsets. You'll get their fresh perspectives. You'll get questions from them that will challenge your systems. Those challenges to your systems are always beneficial because it allows you to make adjustments and move forward in a 2021 way versus a 2020 versus 2019 versus 1970 versus 1954. You understand what I'm saying? So intentionally creating value for other people by being a role model, by providing advice, by answering questions, and by mentoring. So something I did this week, had the opportunity right before all the weather went to hell here in Oklahoma, was talk to a local entrepreneurial class for a university, for USAO. Big shout out to my guy Rob for asking me a second time to talk to this class that he teaches about entrepreneurism at a local university, and doing a little bit of about me, my entrepreneurial journey, 35 years now of owning at least one business, being entrepreneurial even before I knew what the word meant. And then doing a Q&A, answering those questions specifically that the students had, more about how they get started and how they take something from an idea to a reality, from a sketch to an actual product or service to developing audience was a great part of the conversation. And then how to create repeatable, sustainable business, and how to be entrepreneurial in your thought process, in your success path, even the 3 traits of a good entrepreneur. I thought the answer to that one was pretty good as well. So what I'm going to do now is refer you to the Golden Group Neo Marketing Podcast, my business podcast, because I have about an hour of discussion there with the young people from USAO and the entrepreneurial class. We did it via Zoom, recorded it, boiled it down for a podcast and YouTube video for you guys. Hey, good morning, everyone. Special edition of the New Marketing Podcast. I'm about to do a Zoom session with an entrepreneur class for a local university, and I'm going to let you listen in on the conversation. So here we go. Going to hit start on the Zoom. So in the notes below are how you can find that podcast. It's the current episode. There's about an hour of discussion about entrepreneurism. There's great insight there on being an entrepreneur, thinking like an entrepreneur, how to get started as a young person, my personal journey, a major pivot career about midway through, like I said, the 35 years that I've been owning and operating businesses, how to keep your perspective fresh, how to react to what the market is doing today, traits of a great entrepreneur, etc. All of that is in that video and that podcast. So I want you guys to go find it. So again, the Golden Group Neo Marketing Podcast. It's the current issue, Talking Entrepreneurism with Entrepreneur Students. It's on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and YouTube, anywhere, iHeartRadio as well. You can, anywhere you find great podcast like this one, you will find that podcast. Give that a listen. It's worth the hour. If you can't do it all in 1 hour, break it up across your weekend. You might be snowed in like a lot of us here in Oklahoma, so it's a great time to listen to a podcast. But there's this bunch of super insight. They ask good questions, had good conversation with the entrepreneurial group. This podcast in and of itself is another example of how you can try to create value and provide value for other people in your process. It is a little bit of going out of my way to do something that I don't normally do, but the feedback, the positivity, the connection I've gained with people through producing the Saturday Morning Hustle, the swag, etc., all comes back to me in positive, at the very least, positive feedback and positive, whatever you want to call it, karma, something in the universe, great vibes, good luck, however you want to say it. But it motivates me as much as it motivates you, especially when I hear from you. So you guys give me some feedback. Go listen to the podcast. Go listen to the hour with the entrepreneur students. Give me some feedback below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought. If you agree, disagree, etc. Of course, we always just want to have a discussion. And then I'll be back here again next Saturday for another full-on Saturday Morning Hustle podcast. Because if it's Saturday, we're in the office, outworking the competition while they're still asleep, even if it's a snowstorm and it's 2 degrees. See you next week.